Hey everybody, it's Jamie. In today's video, we're going into my closet and doing some DIY with an old prom dress from my junior prom that I haven't worn since junior prom. As you can see, it's a beautiful dress. I love the pattern. It's like a handkerchief style bottom. It's beautiful and flowy and silky, and I absolutely love it. The only thing I absolutely hate about this dress is the top. The top, even when I bought it, was way too big. It falls down. The halter does not do a good job of keeping it up. The elastic is all stretched out since it's about 5 years old now. When I wore it to prom, I had to sew it smaller because I got it in a size too big, and even then it still falls down and I have no idea what to do with it. I haven't worn it since. So the things you will need are a sewing machine, pins, 2-inch elastic. You can go smaller, wider, different color, whatever. This just worked for my dress. Some black thread, which is the thread color that they actually used on the dress, and the dress itself. First things first, let's get our elastic measured out. You can do this one of two ways. One being you can take the elastic and measure around where you want your skirt to sit and cut from there. And you want it a little bit tight, but not too tight. Or you can take an old skirt and measure the elastic against that, make sure it's a skirt that fits well and that you like the fit of. So once you have measured and cut that, you're going to set that aside, and we're going to start the painstaking process of seam ripping your skirt, the skirt from the top of the dress. Now you can also do this with two different kinds of tools. I happen to have a seam ripper, which is what I end up using, but if you don't have one of those, you can use a sharp pair of small scissors. And you're just going to stick in your scissors or your seam ripper into one stitch somewhere along the dress, and then about every, I would say, half an inch to maybe an inch, depending how close the stitches are, you're going to rip one and then gently tug to get that thread out of those holes. My dress happened to have this extra seam, but it was really hard to seam rip my silk fabric because I kept poking holes in it, so I ended up just cutting all this like loop stitching off. And then after all those hours of agony of pulling this thing apart, you're gonna get to the end and you're gonna praise to the skies above that you are done with seam ripping, and you can just throw that top piece aside because we don't need that. Before you start sewing on your elastic, cut off any little fuzzies. So now that you have your top away from your skirt, you're gonna go back to your elastic and you're gonna sew it together. I just laid the two ends of mine on top of each other, but I just sewed straight up and down with a zigzag stitch. That's the most important thing about this tutorial, zigzag for everything. And now with your elastic, you're gonna quarter it off. But I actually ended up further, like cutting those quarters further in half so that I had 8 total pins. And then you're gonna set that aside and get your skirt out. My skirt already had 4 seams, but since I end up doing 8 pins in the elastic, I end up putting just an extra pin in between all those seams. And then you're gonna lay them right sides together. What that means, you're gonna lay the pretty sides of both your elastic and your skirt together so that the ugly side will be on the inside. And then you're going to put them in the sewing machine, starting with one of your pins and one of your seams. I would recommend just letting your zigzag stitch go for a little bit while it's not stretched out, just so that it holds it there. And then you're going to stretch your elastic and sew at the same time. And you're going to do this basically until you're done. Ta-da! There is your skirt. It is finished. You're going to also take your pins out because you don't want to wear those. And I know I'm not a perfect sewer, so I went back through the elastic, where the elastic meets the fabric, and ran my finger to see if there's any holes, and then went back and patched all of those up. Because we don't want no holes in our skirts, except the ones that our bodies have to fit into. But that is the finished product. Mine is definitely not perfect. If you have less fabric, it's going to come out a little bit better. And also if it's not as big as mine. Since mine was already a size too big for me, It was really big for the piece of elastic that I had, so it came out a little crooked, but since it's a handkerchief hem dress, it works, it's fine, nobody really gonna care. You can also top stitch if you want, which makes the fabric lay flat against the elastic, but I didn't really feel like going back and doing that. But this is a finished product, isn't it beautiful? It's now a beautiful formal flowy skirt, like a maxi skirt kind of thing, and I've never had one, I've always wanted one, and I made one. And you can style it 3 different ways. I put this nice black top from Forever 21 with it, and you can wear it where the black top goes over the elastic, or there's a gap to show your belly, or they just match up. I personally like it when they just match up, and it's beautiful and fun, and I love it, and I hope you guys liked this tutorial. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Also, while you're down there, subscribe to my YouTube Confetti Nation. I'll throw as much virtual confetti at you as humanly possible. You guys can also check out all my social media down below. And also, look at my website. I have some pretty exciting things coming out, including a new photo series. And I will see you guys sooner rather than later. So goodbye.